Now, nobody in their right mind can surely call this race boring. Let's get started.
And they are going to win! Pierre Gasly wins the Italian Grand Prix! 3 cars going wheel to wheel as Perez is caught by Charles Leclerc, and there's 3 cars gone off! It's a DNF for MAX! The World Championship record is equalled. Lewis Hamilton, 7-time champion of the world!
Just these intros, they're flying off the tongue now, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Eventually you're going to condense it down to one word. You're like, brilliant.
Race.
Let's get started.
Yeah.
After a long break, we did return to Formula 1, the second round of the 2021 season. We were in Imola. And guys, what do we think? Max Verstappen winning that race despite qualifying in 3rd position, beating Lewis Hamilton. What are your thoughts?
Well, Tom, I find it bizarre that we're on round 2 and we're on episode 5 of this podcast. I feel like it's weirdly elongated. There'll be, I'm sure, some truncation later on in the series. And do you know what? If it was any other race, I would have probably sat here and said, well, that wasn't worth the wait. But this was. This was so good. Some of the predictions we came up with last week
Lol.
came true.
Yeah.
I would like to point out I predicted a Bottas podium. No, Bottas pole. Anyway, we'll come back to that.
But Tom, I think, predicted that Lewis Hamilton would get pole, but not win the race.
Indeed. Indeed.
I'll give that to you. That is an excellent. My prediction that Daniel Ricciardo would do much better didn't come quite into fruition, but I was right in a sense that everyone's eyes would be on Perez, if not always for the right reasons. But there's this much to talk about that in the start, trying to start my brain off with Max did well, I've ended up like going through a whole load of things in the races. It was absolutely incredible. I was watching it with my heart in my mouth. I was tweeting as fast as I could, and so were you, Tom. That was excellent. It was great to have some engagement. Links and to our Twitters in the description. I couldn't have asked for anything more. I just couldn't. I couldn't. We had even rained. Oh, amazing. Max Verstappen held on like crazy actually during that race. Apart from at the very at the second restart when he nearly spun it. When he was, I don't know if you remember that, when he was, it was the safety car period, he nearly spun it, which was like, I think Max did a really good job. In fact, I think Hamilton did a fantastic job as well. That was, an excellent drive from Hamilton. I think I want to address Hamilton's reversing onto the track later. I've seen lots of criticism, unnecessary criticism, spoiler. But I think I could just summarise it in one word, which I saw Liv tweet out, which was epic.
Yeah, I like to use the word epic. I was literally about to start with epic, so cheers for that. But honestly, yeah, I've got to say, such a good race, and how great is it that it's 1-1 in this big battle we're going to be seeing this year.
Fastest lap. All that's in it is fastest lap.
One point between them. I know. 1 point between them. I think I'm just so excited. We're 2 races in and it's already this exciting. I just hope that we maintain that competitiveness throughout. But yeah, what a great race to come back to after that break. And I was just saying, listeners, I was just saying to Tom and Tristan, I got a Apple Watch at the weekend and I was monitoring my heart rate during the race.
Nice.
It went up and down. There were certainly some peaks at some key moments, and understandably, because God, it was absolutely full of drama from the beginning to end. And Max, honestly, the fact that he is 23, it still shocks me sometimes, because I think I read that he's now won a race in every season that he's been in like 6 years in a row, which is huge. Like, he's so young when you think about it. And we've had this argument so many times before, but I've always been like a very strong Max will be world champion sort of thing. But maybe it will happen sooner than I figured, or any of us figured. So
it could be this year.
It could be. Honestly, that's the thing. It could be, as long as the car's reliable, because obviously that's sometimes what's let him down before. I think, my God, like, what we're going to see. But anyway, going back to this, fantastic from Max. His just first 2 or 3 corners off the line, boom, straight basically into first. it was so good from him. From third, obviously, he's not just going from second. He went from third into first, and he's also ended his bad Italy record that we talked about.
The curse is
over. When in the previous episode, I was saying, oh well, I just really hope he can end it, but you never know. He never gets any good finishes. So yeah, fantastic news for him, and the only way is up.
And I thought it was great as well, Red Bull taking that sort of gamble to go into the slick tyres on lap 28 after only Seb Vettel had gone for that move. And then it paying off was just quite refreshing, really, because we normally see Mercedes as the calculating, assured team that always sort of gets the victory at the end. But to see Red Bull to take a gamble and then to see it pay off remarkably well. I mean, granted, Hamilton had to come all the way from 9th to 2nd and to get past Lando Norris, so realistically a battle for first after Hamilton spun off on lap 31, I believe, was never really in the offing. But there was Red Bull when Mercedes finally made a mistake to reap all the rewards. So it's quite remarkable. We're now seeing two teams that are fully primed to go for the championship, be that the single drivers championship or the constructors. So exciting times, and Max looks really assured aside from that scare at the restart, which means realistically reliability is going to be the only perhaps deciding factor between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, teammate dependent of course.
But the Honda engine's been getting better and better every season, and it's nice to see them, I would argue, at their pinnacle now, which I feel like has come just a little bit too late. It's nice they got there. Could you have done it last year? But I suppose I touch wood, it keeps up for them, because you're absolutely right. We historically the Honda's been a bit in terms of reliability, which is an absolute shame, especially when Max has been doing brilliantly in the past, and so the other Red Bull drivers as well. Oh yeah. Poor Albon.
Rip.
Anyway, so it would be really, really useful for both Perez and Max if that engine kept them going and didn't conk out. But I don't think it will. I think it looks strong. I think it's at a position now where neither the Mercedes nor the Red Bull is weak in terms of the cars. So I really want it to be a apples to apples fight of strategy versus car setup, and not have and obviously drivers, and not have like some stupid clutch failure or engine failure throwing a spanner in the works. And that goes for Hamilton or Verstappen. It doesn't matter which driver you support there. If Hamilton's going to win, I want him to do it because he was great, not because Verstappen got unlucky with a bit of debris, or exactly. Vice versa. So I think this is a fantastic moment actually for us going into the rest of the season. We've had two races now which have been pretty close between cars. We've had tracks that have been very different in their what they're like actually, which has been nice. We had Bahrain really, really fast, very, very hot, and then suddenly we had this wet, cold track. And it was nice to see that it was competitive in both. So I think the cars are relatively well equipped for the upcoming season. And I kind of seeing Hamilton afterwards when he was smiling and laughing about what happened and being really excited about the race. I feel like they kind of like it as well now that it's all a bit more straightforward and a little bit more competitive.
Yeah, I feel as well. I saw someone post. It's so great to see three people genuinely overjoyed to be on the podium. It did feel like that this time, because it does feel in the past when we've had the same old thing, and they've won from, they've led from start to finish. All right, Max pretty much did that, but it feels almost like, yay, you're on the podium again, ha ha, yay. But Hamilton, obviously, we'll come on, I'm sure we're about to come on to that now, but the way he achieved his second place was epic. There's my epic mention again. Was very impressive. And obviously Lando's podium as well. And Max needed that win, and off the back of the disappointment of the last race. So I feel like all three of them, when they were up there, they were genuinely pleased to be there, and that felt really exciting as a viewer watching the race, because like if it's going to get boring for the drivers, like imagine how boring it is for people at home, sort of thing. So no, it was really exciting to see the emotions, and you're right, Hamilton did look genuinely pleased and was happy to congratulate both drivers with him on the podium.
And I think this race as well really sort of dismisses that bogus argument that Lewis Hamilton has the best car, it's the car that wins it, etc., etc. Because going through his race, like, he had that incident at turn 1 where he was forced to go over the curbs. He lost the end plate step, which is the technical term, which apparently cost him 0.2 a lap. You then had him going off into the gravel on lap 31, the slow pit stop, which is 4 seconds, problems with the front right apparently, and then not being helped by Giovinazzi going in for a pit stop himself. Restarting in 9th place, I believe, going into 2nd. It just really shows you why Lewis Hamilton has been so successful, and how ultimately it's not just the car that is the reason why he's been so successful. He's still at the top of his game, which is so exciting considering, as we say, we're only 2 races in to this season. Think what's to come if you've got that sort of talent on the grid.
I think we should talk about the Lewis Hamilton incident, actually, because he made an error and went off the track and into the gravel, and we've seen it a lot in less experienced drivers, and all I can think of is Leclerc doing it. And when he slowly tumbled into the barrier, you could see him. There was a moment of reflection on the situation, a moment of, I seem to be in the gravel now, and he just slowly put it into reverse and very slowly, like controlling the car, just gently brought it out of the gravel. There was no, going onto the radio and swearing or throwing his toys out of the pram. It was all calm, collective, probably a little bit of self-pity, and he gently brought himself back onto the track. And the team at the time, you can hear the radio on the internet, or I did, but the team the whole time is saying things like, it's clear on the track, you can bring it back, and they're coaching him back onto the track in a safe manner. And I saw a lot of fans reaching to Twitter saying, how can Hamilton join the track like that? It's illegal, it's unsafe. Actually, it wasn't unsafe. The team had it in hand. They were telling him when to get back onto the track. There was absolutely no reason why he couldn't have done that. And I thought it was a moment where you saw the experience of Hamilton, and part of the reason why he does what other drivers don't, or haven't yet. Because Leclerc hits the gravel, he just spins up the wheels and digs himself a little new trench. And that's game over. But Hamilton, his years of experience meant that he could get it back into the track. And yes, he was lucky. He had his lucky socks on, as Tom said on Twitter. But the fact remains, if he hadn't have had that calm, reflective moment and gently brought the car out of the gravel trap, he wouldn't have been able to capitalise on what happened later on in the race. It doesn't matter whether or not a bit of luck happens 10 seconds after the race or way down the road. The fact of the matter is if you can't get the car out in the first place, it doesn't matter. So yes, he was lucky. I don't think anyone can say he wasn't. But you make your own luck. And I don't think that's a criticism of Hamilton in this situation. I think this is actually a reflection of how brilliant he is, or how good he was then.
Yeah, I 100% agree. That basically my thoughts when we were, thinking about this subject for me was just, I don't personally feel that many other people, if any, but that's a bit of a stretch, and many other people could have recovered from the situation as he did. In many ways, the way he got out of the gravel, for me, for almost everyone, that was it. He was out. I'm pretty sure the Sky or F1 TV even put out or DNF next to his name or whatever, grade it out. But no, absolutely not. Out he came, and I thought, well, he's probably got damage, gonna go back to the pits, Slowly, off he goes, building and building, and there was absolutely no doubt in his mind, in his team's mind, and then eventually our minds, that he was just gonna make his way back up again. And I generally can't think of many other people that could recover in that fashion. Like, we've seen it with someone like Perez last year when he spun out and then won the race. But generally, I couldn't see many recovering the way he did, but of course he did, because it, as you say, Tristan, it has to show people at home who feel as if, oh, it's just the car, he's just driving around in circles, he's not even that good. He is very, very good. He is completely, out of this world when it comes to his skill. And as you say, so many drivers, it'll be stuck in the gravel. That's the end of it. They probably make it worse, as you say, like as you suggested. But no, he was very skilled, very, calm. And yeah, of course he got it back. And of course he ended up P2. Like, I don't even know why we doubted him. So yeah, outstanding drive from Hamilton, and hopefully continuing to prove those haters wrong, because he's a huge talent.
I never really got this argument from people that you shouldn't reverse onto the track if it's safe. I mean, that's basically insinuating that the gravel is lava, and as soon as you're in there, that's game over, really. But yeah, because it was quite remarkable, because I saw him go off. It was a very rare Lewis Hamilton mistake by his own admission, and I thought, well, that's it. Hamilton's out. Verstappen's going to win. Norris will probably get second. Ricciardo maybe third, maybe a Ferrari podium. But no, brought it back, and as we've all detailed, a lot of things were thrown at him that he had to dodge, weave, and overcome, and he did just that. So fair play. Any sort of suggestion that he's slowing down or coasting, or that the lack of competition has sort of made him weak or whatever, I think that's really been blown out the water from what we've seen, not only this race, but the race before as well. And getting pole position as well over Bottas after Bottas got it in 2020 shows you that we are indeed in for a battle, which is remarkably fresh.
Yeah, isn't that nice? Isn't that nice to be uttering those words? If I said to you, who's going to win next week? You say?
I'd say I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, 2 weeks' time, really, but...
Yeah. I mean, it could be any... It could be a Mercedes, it could be a Red Bull, hell, it could even be Lando Norris. We'll come on to him later.
Shall we talk about Lando?
We've got to, haven't we? We've got to. Qualified in 7th, got up to 3rd. What do we think about Lando Norris, guys?
Well, I'd like to put it out there, I've always been a fan. No, but we all know I'm a big fan of Lando, and it's so amazing to see him just grow so much as a driver. And I feel like, I don't know if you guys will agree with me here, but even though this is his 3rd year in F1, it always kind of felt to me that he was still thought of as like a newbie. He wasn't... Yeah. I feel like people had accepted some of the youngsters in the sense of they've accepted Charles and they've accepted Max. I still feel like George and Lando in particular are kind of like the new kids. But we've got to remember, this is his 3rd year. And not only is it his 3rd year, but it's his 3rd year with the same team. So he is... he's deep-rooted in McLaren now. And he's essentially their lead driver. Let's face it, he's their lead driver. Yeah. We were talking about... Oh God, will he be able to keep up with Ricciardo? Lol at us. He is absolutely that lead driver in that team. And not just, obviously it's his talent and his results, which we've seen, but also I think it must be partly to do with the fact that he is so well ingrained with that team. He knows the team so well. He understands the car so well. And, it's really paying off. And it feels different to that first podium he got last year at the first race of the season. Because it kind of felt like, obviously, great job, good drive, deserve whatever, but it felt like, oh my God, like this is so out of the ordinary and so crazy, like this will probably never happen again, like I'm so happy to see him on the podium. That's how it felt. It felt like one of those moments that everyone goes, wow, that's crazy, but then sort of moves on. And then, but the fact now he's starting to, put in these performances. Let's point out, without his lap time being deleted due to track limits, we would have been P3 on, in quali and starting on the 2nd row. And obviously that was not the case, but even then that's showing his speed and the pace of him and his car. And then to go in the race up from P7 to P3, and we've got to say, holding off Hamilton the way that he did for so long. Yeah. I was honestly shocked. Watching, I thought, okay, come on, Lando, like you can hold him off for maybe like a lap. Like that will be so good. Like we'll be so proud of you. Like it's going to be fantastic. And on and on and on it went. And I think as well, not only was the world impressed, but I think it really impressed Hamilton as well, because they seem to have a really good relationship off track, and especially on the podium and in Parc Ferme area when they were hugging and smiling and stuff. And I genuinely think he's gained a lot of respect just from that sort of 5 or so laps that we experienced in that battle, because he didn't give up, he pushed, he made sure there wasn't any space, he did really, really well, and it does show potential. And you mentioned me tweeting or whatever earlier, and listeners, if you didn't see, I tweeted, so great from Lando, and I said, got to be a future race winner, and that's what I said, and I think I'm happy with that prediction, unlike my Bottas on pole prediction. Bit embarrassing. I do see Lando winning a race in the future. Do you guys agree?
Absolutely. Well, so let's fast forward to lap 56. And at that point, Lando Norris was in second place, having held back Charles Leclerc, who was trying to get past him, and Hamilton was now chasing after him. And Lando was in that McLaren on used soft tyres, old soft tyres by that point, and he just held on and on and on. There was a small mistake. He said the clutch was slipping. And the team got back to him and said, it's because you're accidentally pushing the clutch paddle in, which I can understand how that happens. It just sucks, but there was a little mistake there, and that allowed Hamilton to catch up and eventually surpass him. However, there can be no doubt that he did an absolutely incredible job with the pressure there. And I've said it in this podcast, I think last season or the season before that what makes a great racing driver is they can not get overwhelmed by the pressure. Sebastian Vettel on occasion has been overwhelmed by the pressure and made mistakes, especially when he's being chased down by someone like Hamilton, who is going to seldom make a mistake, and Hamilton doesn't make mistakes. This is why it's all exciting when he does. So yeah, I think he can win races because he has the right stuff to capitalise on some luck, the right stuff to get in front and think, I've got 20-second lead and Hamilton's catching me 2 seconds a lap, and I've got 10 laps left, and to hold on and to not let cars pass through silly mistakes. As I say, he pushed back Charles Leclerc and got on that podium. Lando Norris did an amazing job, and McLaren has just gone from strength to strength. They really pulled themselves out of a hole, and I love the fact that they celebrated harder than Red Bull did. And when Max went over the line, his engineer got on the radio and was like, "Well done, Max." And then Christian Horner gets on and is a little bit more excited. But none of them show emotion. It's like, and then there's McLaren, who's like, I feel like McLaren needs McLaren-branded ratchet rattles that they can dig out and start annoying everyone whilst they're celebrating.
That would be so annoying. And then they need a Vuvuzela.
The party
next
team,
as
yeah.
I just love the family atmosphere.
Yeah. With McLaren, you say about the way they celebrate. I saw an interesting fact earlier that this was McLaren's 4th podium in 7 years. 7 years. And Lando's got 2 of them in the past, however 6. No, I was about to say 6 months, but it's longer than that. In the past year, Lando's got 2 of them. 4th podium in 7 years. Like, that's why they're celebrating like they are, because God, that means a lot. And it's not only does it mean a lot. Like, obviously, it would be absolutely incredible if any smaller team got a podium, but it means so much because McLaren should be up there and were up there and want to be up there again, and that's why it means so much. And the fact that it's this youngster that they signed up when they, when they rejigged their team a couple of years ago, who then was planning to probably be the second driver to race winner Daniel Ricciardo. Yeah, it's him that's done it, and it's so epic. It's so cool, and I just think, there's definitely more to come. And I made a good choice making him my turbo driver. Let's just say that.
Yeah. I think realistically, as you say, the contemporary history of McLaren, the wilderness years, if you will, when Lando was recruited, was probably the main reason he has been seen as sort of an okay driver, but still quite a young and naive driver compared to someone like Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen. Because bear in mind, Leclerc was of course recruited to Ferrari in 2019 when they had that awesomely fast car, which turned out to be slightly illegal, unfortunately. And then Verstappen has been with Red Bull, who have always been up there. But, McLaren have been somewhat of a rookie team recently, until very recently, i.e. this year and last, really. So now we're starting to see Norris get that respect. And in my view, he's gone up another level. I can definitely see him winning a race this year. And as we say, when he was able to beat two Ferraris, who, contrary to my prediction, had an awesome weekend, we'll get onto them slightly later, but the fact that McLaren puts the red soft tyres on Norris post the red flag restarts, and he's able to hold off Hamilton after getting hit, let's remember, in lap 1 when he was in 9th position. So the car wasn't in peak condition, if you will, considering there was damage. The fact that he still got third, and that Norris in this case was well above any other team aside from the big two of Mercedes and Red Bull, is really exciting, because now we've not only got a battle for first, but a clear battle for, well, dare I say second, but definitely third, which we've really been lacking, I think. So bring it on.
Definitely. And how great was it to see two Brits on the podium together?
Yeah.
So
was it first time since 2012, I think?
something with since Button, I think.
So there was a thing that was because it was Hamilton. Sorry, it was Red Bull followed by McLaren followed by Mercedes, other way around with those two. So and that was the first time they've had it like that since like 2012, when it was Mark Webber, Lewis Hamilton, Nico Rosberg.
Oh, I see, with those three teams as well. So it was the first for those three teams together, and it was the first for two Brits in a really, really long time. So, yes.
Yeah.
We love it.
But going on to some races, specifically British racers, or a British racer who had quite an awful weekend, George Russell, once again in the points in Imola, but all came to a horrible, sudden, swift end. What do we make of that crash between him and Valtteri Bottas?
Before we go into the crash and go do the negative, I would like to say well done to Williams for getting two drivers into Q2 in qualifying.
Woo!
That is true.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
So
fair play.
good.
Fair play.
Yeah. So, right. Well, this was bad. This was a bad moment, Russell. Georgie boy, I feel like you've taken a little step backwards there from the sweet, sweet silver arrow that you desperately want.
Mm-hmm.
This is a really difficult moment for George, and actually at the time he didn't do well, and post race he's apologised and made some good strides into correcting what he did, and also allowing it to become a learning curve. So credit where credit's due there. So if you didn't watch the race, what happened was Russell in a Williams was catching and about to overtake a Mercedes of Bottas, which is bizarre, and that's mostly because Bottas is really slow in the wet. And that in itself is a weird statement to be saying. So the Williams was catching up with Bottas, and when I was watching this back, I watched it back at quarter speed and frame by frame, because I knew we'd be talking about this. And one of the things I noticed was when George pulls to the right-hand side of the track to overtake Bottas, his head is pointing towards Bottas this entire time. And this, I think, becomes critical. So Bottas, having the racing line of being in front, begins to move over to the right-hand side, and then Russell moves over to the right-hand side as well and gets spooked and goes all the way to the right. His wheel just clips the grass, which is wet, and that's it. You've lost all traction. And you could hear the revs going all the way up as those wheels just spun. And he collected Bottas and slammed them both into two sets of barriers, and it was a pretty nasty crash. Meanwhile, Hamilton is slowly reversing out of a gravel trap.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Russell gets out of the car and marches over to Bottas. He's being on the radio, being like, what the F is that effing bloke doing? And hits Bottas. And Bottas puts on the middle finger. Pretty winded, actually. He came on the radio and was like, guys, I'm okay.
Yeah.
It sounded pretty nasty. And so I say his head's quite important there. I think one of the things that might be missed was the fact that Russell wasn't looking where he was going. And that was really bloody important then. So yeah, this was a pretty bad moment for Russell. He shouldn't have done what he did. I actually thought he was going to walk over there and help him out the car in like some sort of fantastic display of sportsmanship, and I bet you every second right now Russell is wishing that's exactly what he did.
Exactly.
Gone over there and said, I'm so sorry, pulled him out of the car and gave him a hug, and later on being on camera said, no, it's my fault, I knew it was all my fault, this was me being inexperienced, and I'm so sorry to Mercedes.
I firstly, as you pointed out, like, let's just say, like, it was a nasty crash. So firstly, let's just be glad that both of them were pretty much okay. You mentioned that Bottas was winded, but on a whole, they're both super lucky, and it was, I think, the level of debris didn't help with the way that it looked, because it looked horrific on track. Meanwhile, Kimi drives straight through it whistling, but I think that it did look horrific. But as you say, talking about George in particular, everyone listening, both of you, Angus at home, know how much we love George, how much I love George. We're the, what do we call ourselves? The George Appreciation
George
Society.
Russell Appreciation.
However, personally, I was quite angry with the way that he reacted. I was really, not angry necessarily, but disappointed. I sound like a parent on Parents' Evening, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. But I really was, because he's done so well, and he's probably one of the only ones that I feel like up to this point I was really like, what a gentleman, what a sweet boy. He could never put a toe roll out of line. And I felt like, obviously we think Norris is great, we think a lot of them are great, Max, whatever, but they certainly don't do everything right. They're not perfect people on and off track, but I felt always like George was. And I was so disappointed to see him, firstly, to both of them, for the radio messages as they were basically crashing. F this, F that, who the F does he think you... I just feel that neither of them really, or anyone in any situation, should say that sort of message in that level of crash before they know that everyone, like, people are okay. Do you know what I mean? You just... Oh, that bothered me. And then, as you say, when George then leapt up out of his car, I was like, oh, what a hero! That's my man! And over he went and hit him on the head, and I was fuming, because with the way that Bottas had the crash, maybe his impact was a little bit worse. We know he was winded. You don't know with Formula 1 drivers, when they're sat in that car, what their injury is. It could be spinal. And if you have a spinal injury, you do not hit hitting someone on the head with a spinal injury could completely, ruin their life. I'm trying not exaggerating here, when how when people have spinal injuries, how they have to so gently maneuver that person.
Yeah.
And obviously he's fine, and that's fantastic, but George didn't know that when he went and hit him on the head, and I thought, oh my god, what has he done? This is really bad. And not only is it really bad, but for, as a person, but it's also really shit for his career. Thankfully, well, we live in a motorsport of Mazepins, and you can get away with anything. So George was obviously fine with his career, but it's not really the way to impress your boss, is it? Or your future boss, as you hope.
Will it impact his future chances with Mercedes?
I think he was told to make the statement, and he made the statement. I think he believes what he wrote, but I do think that he may have got the prod from Toto to sort that out.
Lent on. Yeah.
And he's got that, and I don't think Toto's going to let that get in the way of someone who could win him world championships in the future. Let's face it, he's not going to. But it's a big dent on his reputation that was previously pretty spotless. So yes, I was disappointed. Regarding the incident itself, I'm really glad it was decided classified as a racing incident, because I don't think either of them were malicious or dangerous. No, I think that they were both very keen. George's point about, was Bottas fighting extra hard because it was him, the guy who's hoping to steal his seat? Maybe. If I was Bottas, I would be embarrassed. Imagine if Russell had gotten past. He'd just been overtaken by a Williams in a Mercedes. So you can understand the fierceness of their competition. Yeah. But I'm not happy with either having full blame. So I like the fact that that's how it was decided, and I agree with it.
Well, the thing is, though, there was no steering the car once he hit the grass. So in terms of the crash itself, Russell was a passenger who collected Bottas. That's why I said it like that. And it wasn't Russell's intent to actually race him like that, to get onto the grass in as you say, a malicious way. But what happened afterwards, even though it was George's fault, it was him who caused the accident. He should have been looking where he was going, and that sort of thing, but it was entirely accidental. I mean, George isn't stupid enough to endanger himself like that. But has there been a decision whether or not he'll get penalised for his actions post-race?
I don't think so.
Not yet, no.
Okay, because sometimes they do penalise them for fighting, and I personally think Russell should have a some sort of penalty of some sort on his on his license for punching Bottas. There is no excuse to that. Max Verstappen, I believe, was he penalised when he punched someone?
I believe some of his sort of race participation money or wages, if you will, were deducted. I think that was the...
Were they? Okay.
I think it was either that or Red Bull had money deducted, I believe.
Okay.
By all means, check. I may be wrong, but yes, I think that's what happened.
So, if you are right, then I feel like the same thing should happen. Should happen to him. So, yeah. Well, George, we are big fans, but
don't do it again. There's no need. It makes it really difficult for us who shout about other issues when the angels that we adore make mistakes, and it's very frustrating. Just on that, actually, just for a more light-hearted note, I thought it was quite funny when lovely Mick, had his little oopsie with his front wing. And what was so funny is I saw the Haas spinning off and I went, oh my god, he's done it again. God, I hate Mazepin. And it went, Mick Schumacher has spun off and went, oh no. Oh my god, bless him. Oh no, I hope he's okay. That was genuinely my reaction. Like, it was so funny. And it reminded me, and I saw it all over the internet, of that Gordon Ramsay meme when it was like, oh dear gorgeous, which is literally me. And then it's like, you moron. Like, I just found it so funny because as soon as I knew it was Mick, I was like, oh my god, bless him. Is he okay? Which I thought was
it's all right. Mazepin spun all on his own.
I loved it
later
when
on, like the last lap.
Yeah, that's it. The commentators were like, oh, he didn't let us down. We knew he'd do it. Like,
I noticed he was going super duper slowly. I think Haas is making him drive slowly. I think they've told him to drive slowly and complete a race rather than drive fast and spin out in the first 10 seconds.
Yeah. You've got to wonder if their sponsors are going to want to have their name on those cars anymore, because what's the point? Like, you may as well all of it, like, you may as well just not have it on there. That's better for your company than having it on the constantly spinning, front wingless cars. Like, come on now.
Who's left on sponsoring Haas?
So few. So I don't know the exact list, but
I
not
can't
many.
actually name anyone, to be fair.
I can see 1 and 1 and Ukrali. Who's 1 and 1? Well, we look this up. Tom, by all means.
Talk about Russell.
Have a conversation
I
about
will do. Yeah, so I suppose in the worst case scenario we can say he saw red. In the best case scenario we can say George Russell showed that he was human. But irrespective of whose fault it was related to that crash, and there's no doubt, as Toto Wolff said, George Russell does have a lot to learn from his comments and his actions. I think we've kind of got to talk about Bottas here. Qualifying in 8th when Lewis Hamilton qualified pole position, and then battling it out for 9th and 10th place with George Russell in a Williams. I mean, it's not a great look regardless of whether or not George Russell is in the Mercedes Academy. There is realistically no way this season that a Mercedes, one of the best cars, if not the best cars, should be fighting with one of the worst cars, if not the worst car, Williams, at Imola. And I kind of feel to myself that Bottas, as I put in the chat, sort of mid-race, Bottas has got to win a race really as soon as possible to show his worth and to show that he still got it, really, because he's had an awful start to the season. This crash here, this battle with Williams will do him no favours, and I know we're not doing bold predictions, but I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Valtteri Bottas win a single race this year.
That'd be bad, wouldn't it?
That would be extremist, yeah.
But you're absolutely right, Tom. Like, as I said, like, can you imagine what happened if George has successfully completed that manoeuvre? Like, that's embarrassing.
That's
like,
career
it's not
ending,
good.
that is.
It's so bad. Yeah. Like, the swap could have happened mid-year, for all we know. Like, I mean, he's contracted, whatever, but that would have been bad. So, we'll never know. But unless obviously George manages to overtake him in another race. But as you say, what was Bottas doing there? It was not good.
I have an answer, by the way, to the how many sponsors does Haas have?
Tell me.
Go on.
So, to put it into context, McLaren has 45.
Nice.
Haas, well, would you like to guess?
4.
5.
8.
Ah.
They do list themselves on that.
Oh, so
as
really
well.
7.
No. It was 9.
Oh, I see.
Oh,
It goes
right,
down to
right,
8.
right.
So they've got 1 and 1, which is a telecoms company.
Nice.
Ural Kali, which is oil / potash. But they've listed some of them like Alpine Stars, and Alpine Stars are the like overalls manufacturer.
Yeah, they make suits.
So I'm not sure. They've also got Pirelli listed on it.
Hang on.
I believe
Have they got
Pirelli
Formula
also
1 on
are-
there as well, or?
They don't quite have that, no, but they have listed Alpine Stars, which is a Formula 1 like overall one, and Pirelli. So I think of all the ones that are independent, you've got Under Armour, Stitched, Schubert, Ural Kali, Ionos, and 1 and 1. And
Dear.
how the mighty have fallen,
Yeah.
haven't it?
Yeah.
Like, if you're Under Armour right now, are you looking at Haas or are you looking at
Anything
Williams,
else?
maybe?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. I think lots of these sponsors now are going to be going over to Williams, and a team that might be doing quite well next
Somewhat on the
next
up.
year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's quite ironic, like all those sponsors that left Williams, JCB, I believe, left Williams for Aston Martin now, and now seeing potentially the tide turn. Yeah, there's a short history in Formula 1, put it that way. And unfortunately, that's all we've got time for in this episode of F1 in Review, but fear not, we'll be back next week to continue discussing everything that happened at Imola, specifically Sergio Perez, Ferrari, and as well looking forward to the Miami Grand Prix that's coming around next year, 2022, discussing the highs, lows and details to come out of that announcement. There's no Formula 1 this week, but there is Formula E. There's going to be a double header in Valencia this weekend, so if you want to get your racing fix for this weekend, then you know where to go. What channel is it on, Liv? Sorry.
This weekend it's only on iPlayer or Red Button. It's not on the channel this weekend at the moment, but they might announce it. If they do announce it, it'll be on Thursday or Friday.
Fantastic. Well, you know where to go. We'll see you next week. Should we just have a klaxon and go, oh, sorry guys, we're out of time?
Yeah. Like on
Like Dick and Dove or something.
Yeah. I was going to say University Challenge, but okay.
If you want an F1 gong, I can do that.
And just go, okay guys, looks like we're out of time. And then on we go.
Did I ever tell you that I actually went and auditioned for the Southampton University
Oh,
Challenge?
you did not, no.
Ew.
They in first year, I went to one of the open days. Well, one of the days you could go test out different like societies.
Yeah.
And they like had a little list of questions, and I filled it out, and they were like, got 8 out of 10. How have you thought about auditioning?
Ooh.
So I went along. Yeah, I got none.
Ah.
I got 0.
Oh, man.
I knew none of them. 0 question. When like on the open day, it was really basic stuff like, where is the Louvre? What year did Heinz get created? Heinz sauce get created.
Actually,
Yeah.
don't know.
Anyway, stuff
Yeah,
stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then when I was there, it was like, in 1542, Cedric wrote a famous poem in Latin. What year did it get translated in the first time to Arabic? And everyone around was like, easy, 1932. And I'm like, yes, Matrice.
Oh man, like whenever I watch it, if I get one question right, like it's a great day. It's just, it's one of them.